Why these books are so precious? For me, they are very, very precious. It costs a few thousand and I have tons of them and they're all super heavy. These were only 3 books. And I have a lot of more books here from China, from Italy. Most of them are from Italy, America, Germany, France. Some you cannot even buy anymore. Stay tuned and I tell you what's all about these violin reference books. Hello, back again. This is Edgar from Italy, Cremona, and I do nothing else than thinking about what will be the next video. And for this video, I am prepared my life already for this video. Since I started violin making in the early 80s, there was this Stradivari anniversary in 1987, and there was the book about this exhibition. It was extremely expensive, and I bought it. It has been this book from Jaan Beers, and I bought it at that time. At that time, this book was so expensive. I remember it was like 300,000 Italian lira, 150 euro. Then later on, already during that time, there was this Japanese guy who made the pictures of the first Stradivari in Japan. And that book was like super expensive. Let's say it was $1,000. And there were some people buying it. And I also bought that book. And if I'm not wrong, I bought even 2 copies of that one. At that time, that was probably the best book ever with color slides of pictures of instruments. Before that, there was only the book of Hammer, this one here, only black and white pictures. All instruments look almost the same and you can hardly tell what you see. Super bad pictures, but that was actually the Bible of violin making at that time. As a violin maker, young fellow making the violin making school, we were hungry to get all these pictures because at that time there was just the camera, traditional one with the rolls inside and the black room and all this stuff. And having finally the access to images of instruments with a good color was outstanding, and it was something which didn't exist up to that point. Nowadays you have a digital camera, you make pictures as much as you want at home, then you go through and you throw away. At that time you had to print them out, you had to look at them, took the lens, and then it wasn't in focus and things like this. So it had a completely different value. And now you would say that nowadays nobody cares about all these paper stuff, you know? Indeed, you could scan it and then you have it somewhere online, and most of those books probably are somewhere out there, but if you don't know where it is, you don't find it, right? And so nowadays we're still in this time where you have problems online to search information about a specific maker, about a specific matter in violin making, if you don't have a library like this. So you would say you can access to everything online. It's true for most things nowadays, so high technology and all this stuff. But if it comes down to you get an instrument in your hands here and you have to figure out if this is an original, if it could be made in Mantova, or if it's rather Venice, or if it's Verona or Padova or Treviso or Trieste, then you need to have a library. And so at a certain point, still already during the violin making school, I just decided these books are so precious, even already at the time, that every time it happens to me that I could buy something, I just buy it. So even today, this morning, the uncle of my wife, who is living not far from Cremona, he is from the family of Guarnieri. My wife, the mother of my wife, the family name is Guarnieri, by the way, huh? Sexy name, arrived here and said, Edgar, I have something for you. And he arrived with 2 books just for me. One is a little bit less appealing to me. It's okay. It's just a very classical book. The other one is, well, apparently just a book where somebody made a book about himself, Francesco Bussolotti. But interesting is that he published that book in 2009 and made his exhibition about his life, Francesco himself. And that was between 6 to 28 of June 2009. And in the very preface, in the beginning here, he made a dedication to someone, Soresina, Cremona, 16 July 2009. 2 is certain Sergio Pazzufi, and then his signature. This is an original signature of Francesco Bisolotti. That is something for me very precious. You might know that he passed away, as well as Orasi, the 2 big violin makers. But this is just about contemporary violin making. Now, when it comes to violin making like this here, for me, this is very fundamental. Every book which comes out and they send me an email or I'm making a publishing, I always buy immediately the first edition. I buy just the book. There are some books which I have not opened yet, just like the one from Andrea Zanre from about the violin making in Mantova. I didn't have the time yet to open it. Just the same like the whole library which I bought as a big block, which just came out in 2024. The whole library about Antonio Stradivari from John Arthur Beer Publishing. There stands a lot of effort of all these people behind to make these books. Most of the instruments published in these books are original instruments, but still there are always some books. Walter Hammer, for instance, is a very interesting person. At the time was a German guy, very famous violin dealer. At a certain point, he refused to go to court with all his troubles, and he refused to be able to sign any more papers. And I don't know how you call it in English, that you just say you are not anymore reliable, because very likely what is published in this book, most of these instruments, he knew already that they were not original. So some people make even a book, publish 15 instruments and throw in one which is not correct, which they know which is not correct. And then they publish the book, they become expert on these makers, let's say, and then just to sell that specific instrument. Interesting. But most of these books are very, very serious, and that's why we have them and that's why we look at them. Another very interesting book is the Vaughn, which is a very classic book. This one is printed in 1999, but the original book is from 1951. It's all written in French. I don't understand French, but when it comes to searching for something, there are all the labels and there are all the makers, all at that point up to 1999. So far, Italian and French are pretty close that I can understand it pretty well. And most of the time, if I tell you something about specific violin makers, I do nothing else than searching my books, all the references about this violin maker, and then I collect them and put the nice parts together to tell you. And another interesting part of these books is usually that a book is published, and together with the publishing of a book, they usually make like an exhibition where they expose these instruments which are published in the book in this exhibition. A book is made that instruments have been measured, taken the pictures, and usually there's always somebody, not the violin maker who is an expert on these instruments, but a different person who is a historical researcher regarding everything who could find about this specific maker. You get a better picture of what's going on, and not only looking on the instruments, but how the circumstances of these violin makers have been to create these instruments. Just to name one, let's take Giuseppe Guarneri del Gesù, who made all his instruments mainly in 11 years when he returned back at the age of 26 years to his father's house. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you need some help or you need a specific suggestion for a specific book for a specific maker, write me and I give you some details about it, or leave a comment below and I can let you know. Stay tuned. See you next week. Bye bye. Ciao, ciao.